So you've created this well thought out concept. You know your setting, your plot, and exactly what system you're going to use. But now how do you get your players on board? We're going to give you some strategies coming up. Hi, and welcome to SRD, where our second-rate production will make you a first-rate GM. You're watching Step 2 in our 6-step series about how to be a better GM. But first, before we get going, if you haven't seen Step 1 yet, it talks about concepts, you can check it out up here above. So what is buy-in and why is it important? Player buy-in is that thing that keeps your players engaged, that thing that keeps them coming back. Because GMing is a form of entertainment. Whether it's you're doing your improv, your writing, whatever it is, it's entertainment, and you want your players to be entertained and brought in. And that's what buy-in is. What we're getting ready to talk about now is how to build that buy-in initially. Now you're going to try to keep it going throughout the entirety of your campaign, but that initial buy-in, that initial piece that's going to bring them like, yeah, man, I'd love to play that game. That's what we're really going to talk about today. One of the biggest mistakes that new GMs make is they put in all this time and all of this effort into creating this game, whether it's the writing or the preparation, and then their players have no interest in it. So what you have to do is, instead of wasting all that time, talk to them first, sell them your idea. And there's different ways that you can do this. One of the first ways that you can do this is what a lot of people like to talk about as Session Zero. Now, Session Zero has been around for a long time, right? We just didn't call it that. Usually it's us hanging out after the game, you know, eating some Cheetos, drinking a beer, whatever have you, and be like, oh man, you know, it'd be really cool if next game we ran was about the Underdark and Meds and Brandzan. It'd be awesome. We've been doing this for a long time, but now there's this formal setting called Session Zero, and this whole idea that you sit down with your players and you don't play, but you talk about the game that you're wanting to run. And so that's why we go into selling your concept. So the first thing that you did was create that concept, and now we're going to present it to them in a clear, concise manner so they know exactly what you're talking about, and you're setting up those expectations of your game. If you say that, hey, we're going to run a pirate game, and your game has nothing to do with pirates, you're going to lose their faith in you and their trust, and they're not going to want to play with you anymore. You're going to lose that buy-in that we've talked about. So during this Session Zero, or whatever method that you prefer to use, a lot of times we use a Facebook Messenger page, and that's how we keep track of all of our game stuff. We post a lot of things there, and we get feedback back and forth. But during that time is a good time to get your players' ideas. Like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of. What do you guys think? What do you want to play? And they will tell you. They will say, I have no interest in playing this setting. I have no interest in playing a comedy game. I have all the interest in the world of playing a game that's like Star Wars or something like that. They will tell you. You just have to present it to them. Get a general consensus from your players and then work it out from there. One of the best things that you can do during that time is help them work out their backgrounds with them. If you help them with their background and make it fit into that concept that you brought, they're gonna be like, hey, my guy really fits into this world and he feels like he's alive and he's doing things in this world and he has a setting and a place. And more importantly, it's gonna cut back a lot of your work in the next step, which is writing. Another great thing to do during this time is to try to help your characters with any maybe special homebrew stuff that they might want to play. So let's say you're playing Dungeons & Dragons and your friend wants to play, I don't know, a house cat. It happens. For some reason, people like to play cats. It's a lot of people's things. But let's say they want to play a house cat, right? So how do you deal with that? Easy, man. So take the time to sit down with them, find something that matches within the rule set, and let them do it. If it somewhat matches the tone of your game, if it doesn't, that's fine. Let them know, like, hey, maybe not this time. We're trying to have a serious game, and maybe a house cat really wouldn't fit in it. But if you're playing something that's not necessarily serious, and it's not going to destroy the whole game, go with it. Have fun with them. Let them come up with something that's going to make it their own. And the more that they're invested in it, the more they're going to give you each session. And let me tell you, if you haven't GM'd before, you are feeding off of those players like a vampire. So another thing to do during this time is to learn to make compromises with your players. If you have an interest in doing a sci-fi fantasy game, but they want to do something kind of funny, more humorous, and a little lighthearted, do it. Put them together. It'll be awesome. It'll be kind of like Galaxy Quest. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie. It's a great movie. Well, I know that we ran a game that was very similar to that one time. Have a ball. It'll be great. The more of their ideas that you put in, the less work that it is for you, and the more fun that everybody will have at the table. So one of the last things that you want to think about while you're doing this is make sure that they're on board with your idea, period. If they're not interested in what you're bringing to the table, one, don't force them, because they're not going to be happy, they're not going to want to play, and it's going to be a miserable experience for everybody. And two, just shelve it for now. I've talked about this before. I've got a closet, where I've got tons of notebooks just sitting up there, just games that I've shelved for later. And someday, and it's happened, like, hey, I'd really like to play this game. Well, that's awesome, because I just so happen to have something written already. It's okay. It's going to happen. You're going to have ideas that your players aren't into. It's no different than when you were kids and you wanted to play baseball and they wanted to play football. And so you compromise with your friends, right? You're like, okay, well, they want to play football, so that's what we're going to play. Same thing. Just because we're nerds doesn't mean that it's any different. So go ahead and shelve that idea, come back to it, and while you're there, come up with an idea together, a concept together that they want to do, and you'll have a fantastic game. Next week, Monday nights at 6 p.m., we're going to have our next video, Step 3, which is all about writing. But before we go, tell us down below, how do you get your players to buy into your game? And remember, there's that like and that share button. If you like us, hit them, give us a chance. We'd love to have you subscribe. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
To give a clear presentation to your players.
Have something prepared. PowerPoint helps.
If a player gives you a great idea, always use it over like your own. Unless it's like stupid.